Everyone in this village believed she was just another poor woman. What they didn't know was that she controlled an empire worth billions. This is not a story about money. It's a story about what money reveals. The screen glowed in the darkness. $3 billion moved with a single keystroke, and the woman who commanded it all was invisible. In the village of Akpara, they knew her as Adana the seamstress, the quiet one, the woman who mended clothes for 20 naira and smiled too much for someone so poor. She lived in a small house with peeling paint, walked barefoot to the market, and never complained when customers haggled her prices down to nothing. What they didn't know was that every night when the village slept, Adana became someone else entirely. The laptop hidden beneath her bed cost more than every structure in Akpara combined. The algorithms she wrote before dawn controlled payment systems across 15 African countries. Her company, registered under a shell corporation in Lagos, processed over 400 million transactions daily. Adana Okafor wasn't just rich, she was a ghost in the machine, a phantom billionaire, a tech queen ruling an empire no one could see. And she had chosen to disappear. 5 years earlier, Adana had learned what wealth does to people. She'd watched her university roommate, Ngozi, build a successful fashion brand only to be kidnapped for ransom. She'd seen her mentor, a kind man named Chief Emeka, murdered in his own home by relatives who wanted his land. She'd attended funerals of entrepreneurs whose only crime was being visible. So when her mobile banking app, EasyPay, exploded across West Africa, Adana made a decision that defied every instinct of the nouveau riche. She vanished. She hired a frontman, a charismatic businessman named Tunde Adeleke, to be the face of EasyPay. He attended the conferences, gave the TED Talks, smiled for Forbes Africa. The world believed he was the genius behind the technology. Only 3 people knew the truth: her lawyer in Lagos, her accountant in London, and Tunde himself, who was paid handsomely to play the part. Adana returned to Akpara, the village where she'd grown up as an orphan. She bought her childhood home from the family who'd taken her in, paying cash through an intermediary. She set up her sewing business as cover, and she coded. Every night from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., she built, expanded, innovated. By day, she was invisible. By night, she was unstoppable. The trouble began with kindness. Mama Adzine fell sick, breast cancer, stage 3. The treatment cost 800,000 naira, a fortune the woman would never see in her lifetime. Adana watched Mama Adzine's daughter Chiamaka go door to door begging for help. She watched the community contribute, 500 naira here, 1,000 there. She watched desperation carve lines into Chiamaka's face, and she broke. Late one night, Adana created an anonymous donor account and transferred the full amount to the hospital. She structured it carefully, made it look like a charity grant, untraceable, clean. Mama Adzine got her treatment. The village called it a miracle. But miracles attract attention. 3 months later, the school needed a new roof. The children were studying under tarpaulins during rainy season. Adana watched the headmaster, Mr. Okonkwo, try to rally the community. They raised 70,000 naira. They needed 4 million. She told herself to wait, to be patient, to stay hidden. But when she saw children shivering in the rain, notebooks soaked, dreams drowning in puddles, she broke again. Another anonymous donation. Another miracle. The roof went up in 2 weeks. Then the borehole, then the medical clinic, then scholarships for 12 students. Each time, Adana was meticulous. She used different banks, different intermediaries, different paper trails. She made sure nothing pointed back to the seamstress in the yellow house who charged too little and smiled too much. But money, even when given anonymously, changes the physics of a community. People started asking questions. Who is this donor? Why Akpara? We're nobody. What do they want from us? Suspicion is a weed that grows fastest in fertile soil. Pastor Gabriel was the first to connect the dots. He was a sharp man, educated in the city before returning to Akpara to shepherd souls. He noticed that every miracle donation happened within a week of a specific community meeting, meetings Adana always attended. He started watching her. He noticed the laptop bag she sometimes forgot to completely hide, the expensive smartphone she once pulled out by mistake before quickly replacing it with her cheap Nokia, the way her fingers moved when she thought no one was looking, too fast, too precise, the muscle memory of someone who lived on keyboards. One Sunday after service, Pastor Gabriel approached her. "Sister Adana, can we talk?" She smiled. "Of course, Pastor." They walked to the back of the church compound away from listening ears. "You're very generous with your sewing money," he said carefully. "I give what I can." "That's the thing," he smiled, but his eyes were calculations. "I've been thinking about your business. You charge 20, maybe 50 naira per repair. You work maybe 6 hours a day, 4 days a week when you're not too tired. That's, what, 15,000 naira a month? Maybe 20 if you're lucky." Adana's pulse quickened, but her face remained calm. "I manage." "You manage," he repeated. "And yet I've seen you donate 5,000 naira to the church building fund. I've seen you pay for Nkechi's daughter's school fees. I've seen you buy food for old man Chakudi when he was too proud to ask. The Bible says we should give cheerfully." "It does." Pastor Gabriel stepped closer. His voice dropped. "It also says we shouldn't lie. Who are you, Adana, really?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Adana had prepared for this moment. She had rehearsed the deflection, the humble dodge, the way to make herself smaller. But looking into Pastor Gabriel's eyes, she saw something that terrified her more than exposure. She saw hunger, not for food, for power, for access to whatever source of wealth she believed she was hiding. "I'm just a seamstress, Pastor, nothing more." He studied her for a long moment, then he smiled, a smile that never reached his eyes. "Of course, forgive my curiosity. God bless you, sister." He walked away, but Adana knew the questions wouldn't stop. She was right. Within a month, whispers began circulating, quiet at first, then louder. "You know, Adana's house is too clean for someone so poor. I heard she paid Nkechi's school fees. Where did she get that kind of money? My cousin works at First Bank. He said someone from Akpara has been making large withdrawals. Who else could it be?" The truth is a thing that wants to be known. It presses against secrets like water against a dam, and Adana's dam was cracked. The crisis came from the person she least expected, Chidi. He was the son of Mama Ngozi, the woman who'd taken Adana in as an orphan. Chidi had been like a brother to her, protective, kind, ambitious. He'd moved to Lagos 8 years ago to make his fortune, sending money home when he could. But Lagos had chewed him up. Failed businesses, bad investments, debt. When he returned to Akpara, he was a hollow version of himself, bitter, desperate, watching everyone else succeed while he drowned. Adana welcomed him warmly. She gave him free meals, offered her sewing work she couldn't finish, tried to help him stand again. But Chidi didn't want charity. He wanted what he deserved.
One night, Chidi got drunk at Babatunde's bar. The local men were there, complaining about money, as men do. Someone mentioned the mysterious donor again. "I'm telling you, it's someone in this village," Mr. Okonkwo insisted. "Someone with serious money." "Maybe it's a politician," someone suggested, "building goodwill before elections." Or a ritual person, another voice added darkly. You know how they give back to avoid curses. Chidi laughed, a broken, bitter sound. You people are fools. You're looking for a rich man. But what if it's not a man at all? The bar went quiet. What are you saying? Mr. Okonkwo asked. Adana. Chidi took another drink. My sister, the seamstress. The men erupted in laughter. Adana? That quiet girl? The one who can't even afford shoes? You're more drunk than we thought. But Chidi wasn't laughing. I lived in that house. I know what poor looks like. She's not poor. She's pretending. How would a seamstress have millions? I don't know. Chidi's voice was poison, but I'm going to find out. He started watching her. At first, Adana didn't notice. She was too busy managing a security crisis in her company's Ghanaian operations. A competitor was trying to expose a vulnerability in her code. She spent 3 nights straight fixing it, barely sleeping, fueled by coffee and adrenaline. Her exhaustion made her careless. She forgot to lock her bedroom door. Chidi found the laptop. He didn't understand the code on the screen, but he understood the bank statements he found in her desk drawer, the ones she'd printed to review her charitable giving strategy. Account balance, 47,823,456,000 naira. Chidi's hands shook as he photographed everything with his phone. The bank statements, the laptop screen, the documents with EasyPay letterhead hidden under her mattress. He stumbled out of her house, his mind reeling. The orphan girl, the seamstress, the one they pitied. She was richer than everyone in Akpara combined, richer than their state governor, richer than people he'd only seen on television. And she'd been lying to them all. The next morning, Chidi went to Pastor Gabriel. He showed him the photos. Pastor Gabriel stared at the evidence for a long time. When he finally looked up, his expression was unreadable. What do you want to do with this information? I want what's fair, Chidi said. She lived in my mother's house. We fed her, clothed her, raised her when she had nothing, and now she's a billionaire and we're still struggling? That's not right. So you want money. I want justice. Pastor Gabriel smiled. Justice. Interesting word. He leaned back in his chair. What if I told you there's a better way? A way we all benefit? What do you mean? Adana has been generous with this village. Imagine how much more generous she could be with the right encouragement. Chidi's eyes narrowed. You want to blackmail her. I want to help her see her moral obligation. She's been blessed with wealth. We've been blessed with knowledge of her secret. God works in mysterious ways, doesn't he? They came to her house 3 days later. Pastor Gabriel, Chidi, Mr. Okonkwo, the headmaster, Mama Ezine's daughter, Chiamaka, 5 others from the village council. Adana was coding when she heard the knock. She closed her laptop quickly, arranged her sewing materials, and opened the door. Pastor Gabriel, Chidi, what's going on? Pastor Gabriel's smile was sympathetic. We need to talk, sister. May we come in? Her instincts screamed danger, but she stepped aside. They filled her small sitting room. Too many people, too close. Adana, Pastor Gabriel began gently. We know. Her stomach dropped. What do you know? Chidi threw a folder on her table. The bank statements spilled out. We know you're rich. We know about EasyPay. We know you've been hiding billions while letting us think you're poor. The room contracted. Air became scarce. Adana's voice was steady, but her hands trembled. You went through my things? You've been lying to us, Chiamaka said, hurt sharp in her voice. My mother almost died. We were begging for money while you had billions hidden away. How could you? I helped your mother. Anonymously, Chiamaka cracked her voice. Like we weren't worthy to know who saved her? Like you were too good to let us thank you? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Mr. Okonkwo demanded. You've been playing games with us, living here like a spy. What are you really after? I'm not after anything. This is my home. Liar, Chidi shouted. Rich people don't live in villages. You're here for a reason. What is it? Ritual? Are you using us? That's insane. Is it? Pastor Gabriel stood. "You hide billions. You live among poor people. You watch us suffer when you could solve every problem in this village with your spare change. You give us scraps and call it generosity. What else should we think?" Adana looked around the room. Every face showed the same thing: betrayal, anger, greed masquerading as righteousness. "I never wanted to hurt anyone." "But you did," Pastor Gabriel said softly. "You hurt us by lying, by making us feel like beggars when you're richer than kings. You hurt us by denying us the honor of knowing our own daughter had succeeded. What do you want?" The question hung there. Pastor Gabriel sat back down. "We want you to do what's right. This village raised you, fed you, loved you when you were nothing. Now you're everything. It's time to give back, properly." "I have given back." "Scraps," Chidi spat. "We want real money, money for everyone, not anonymous donations, real investments, houses. We want what we deserve." Adana's throat tightened. "And if I refuse?" Pastor Gabriel's voice was velvet over steel. "Then we'll have no choice but to tell everyone. The newspapers, social media, the whole of Nigeria will know that Adana Okafor, the tech billionaire, has been hiding in a village, watching people suffer for her own amusement. They'll call you a witch, a ritualist. Your company will collapse. Your reputation will be destroyed. That's blackmail. That's justice." They gave her 48 hours to decide. Adana didn't sleep that night, or the next. She'd spent 5 years hiding, 5 years building a safe, invisible life, and it had all been destroyed by her own kindness. The irony was suffocating. She could pay them 10 million naira each, 20, 50. She had enough to make them all comfortable, but she understood human nature well enough to know that the first payment would never be the last. Blackmail is a door that only opens wider. She could run, disappear again. Lagos, London, Dubai. She had resources to vanish completely. But the thought of abandoning Akpara, her home, her roots, the place where she'd buried her parents' memory, felt like death. She could fight, hire lawyers, security, protect herself with the armor money could buy. But that meant becoming visible, becoming exactly what she ran from. Every choice was a trap. On the morning of the third day, Adana made a decision. She called a village meeting. Everyone came. Curiosity had been eating them alive since Pastor Gabriel started spreading whispers. The seamstress with billions? The orphan queen? The hidden tech genius? They gathered in the village square, hundreds of faces, hungry for truth. Adana stood before them, no laptop, no disguise, just herself. "You want to know who I am, so I'll tell you. My name is Adana Okafor. I'm the founder and CEO of EasyPay. My company processes billions of naira in transactions every day. I am, as you've heard, very wealthy." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I came back to Akpara 5 years ago because I was tired of being hunted, tired of being seen as a bank account with legs, tired of wondering if people loved me or loved my money. I wanted to live simply. I wanted to be treated like a human being, not a resource to be exploited." She paused, looking at faces she'd known her whole life. "But I made a mistake. I thought hiding my wealth would protect me from greed. I thought anonymity would keep me safe from envy. I was wrong, because the problem isn't the money, it's what money reveals about people." "What does it reveal?" someone shouted. "That most of you don't want a neighbor, you want a benefactor. You don't want a sister, you want a bank." Her voice hardened. "For 5 years I lived among you. I sewed your clothes, I ate at your tables, I prayed in your church, and when I helped you, when I paid for Mama Azine's treatment, when I built the school roof, when I funded scholarships, I did it because I cared, because we were family. But family doesn't blackmail each other. Family doesn't threaten destruction unless you pay them. Family doesn't break into your home and steal your privacy." Chi stepped forward. "We raised you. "You did," Adana cut him off. "Mama Ngozi raised me with love. She never asked for anything in return. She fed me when she barely had food for herself. She clothed me when her own children wore rags. She loved me. But you, Chidi, you're using her memory as leverage. You're prostituting her kindness for money." Chidi's face went red, but he said nothing. Adana turned to Pastor Gabriel. "And you, Pastor, you preach about grace and humility every Sunday, but the moment you discovered someone weak enough to exploit, you became the thing you claimed to fight against. I'm trying to help this community. By threatening me, by turning my generosity into obligation, by teaching everyone here that secrets are weapons and kindness is weakness."
The crowd was silent now. Adana reached into her bag and pulled out a document. "I've spent the last 2 nights making arrangements. I'm leaving Okpara today, right now. I'm selling this house to a family in the next village. I'm donating everything in it to charity, and I've created a trust fund, 100 million naira, for this village's continued development." Murmurs of excitement rippled through the crowd. "But," she continued, her voice sharp as a blade, "there are conditions. The fund will be managed by an external organization in Lagos, not by anyone in this village, especially not by anyone who tried to blackmail me. The money will go to projects that benefit everyone: infrastructure, education, healthcare, not to individuals, not to families, not to people who think my success makes them entitled to my bank account." She looked at the faces staring back at her. Some looked ashamed, some looked angry, some looked like they were calculating how to get around her conditions. "I came here to hide from greed. Instead, I found it waiting for me. Not in the city where at least people are honest about what they want, but here, dressed up as justice, as family, as righteousness." Adana folded the document and handed it to Mr. Okonkwo. "I hope this village uses this money wisely. I hope it builds something lasting. But I won't be here to see it, because I've learned the hardest lesson money can teach. Wealth doesn't change who you are. It reveals who everyone else is." She walked through the crowd. No one stopped her. No one spoke. At the edge of the village, she turned back one last time. "I thought hiding my wealth would keep me safe, but safety isn't found in secrets or invisibility. It's found in knowing who you are when the world knows what you have. I lost that knowledge somewhere along the way. I'm going to find it again." Then she was gone. 6 months later, the trust fund began its work. A new medical clinic opened. 3 boreholes were drilled. The school got computers. Scholarships were awarded. The village prospered. But they never saw Adana again. Chidi drank himself into bitterness, blaming everyone but himself for losing his sister a second time. Pastor Gabriel's congregation dwindled as people whispered about his greed. Mama Azine wept every night, knowing her daughter had helped drive away the girl who'd saved her life. And in Lagos, in a penthouse overlooking the Atlantic, Adana sat before her laptop. She was no longer hiding. Her face was on Forbes Africa. Her story was on CNN. Her success was undeniable. But she no longer confused visibility with vulnerability or hiding with safety. She'd learned that wealth attracts hunger the way blood attracts sharks, that money doesn't solve human problems, it magnifies them, that generosity without boundaries becomes a weapon people use against you. She'd learned that you can't hide from greed by pretending to be poor, because poverty isn't the absence of money, it's the absence of choice. And Adana had finally chosen not to hide, not to reveal, but to live openly, set boundaries clearly, and protect her peace fiercely. The seamstress was gone, the tech queen remained, and she would never apologize for either.